So hello and welcome to the 50-minute SEO Mythbuster, where I'm going to run through some real basics of what SEO is, the things you need to consider, and hopefully give you a real snapshot into starting your SEO journey. So this is a presentation that I've done quite a few times with local businesses here in Brighton, but it's really relevant for anyone at any stage of their kind of business growth, whether you're a freelancer looking for advice for your own website, whether you're an entrepreneur looking for kind of just advice onto how to start your journey, or if you're a small business that's been established for 30 years and you're just kind of getting to handles with your digital marketing and what you need to do. So let's begin. So there's a few things we're going to cover in this session. One, what does being first really mean? Why do you need to research your keywords? Do you even need to be first? Is that kind of a slightly outdated way of looking at search, and kind of exploring that a little bit more? And then finally, Google Search Console very quickly, and kind of what your why Google Search Console is so valuable to you as your business. So people really do think that SEO is about optimizing your website for search engines. They use kind of Google in quite a personified way and say that they're trying to satisfy Google's needs, or they're optimizing for Google. That's not the right way to look at it. SEO is about optimizing for your users. It's about making your website as easy as for your customers to understand as it is for Google, which is exactly this slide. So yeah, SEO is about making your website easy for both users and Google to understand. Users being your potential customers, Google being kind of the search engine, but also the way Google works, it understands content much better than it did, say, 5 years ago or even a year ago, and focusing on your customers is really important. So let's first look at the search engine results page and what that looks like and what it really means. The important thing to remember is that every search is different. So what does being first really mean? And why trying to be first is quite often nonsense, and it's not a realistic way of looking at your search. So if we take the example of SEO agency on a desktop device, so this is what it looks like for me down here in Brighton. The first four things we see when we first search this term are ads. So we've got Google Ads at the top, taking up quite a lot of screen space, followed by the kind of map pack, the local results for other SEO agencies in Brighton. The important thing, this is the kind of the first above the page fold, and there is no organic search result on this page. It is all either ads or it is Google My Business through Google Maps. Moving down the page, we still have the Google Ads at the top, and then the three results in search, and then at the bottom of this page we've now got the actual first organic search result. This is the first result here, so we've already got 7. This is the pointer on it. We've got the 3 map results here, plus then the 4 ads at the top, which are responded to here, and then this is the first result we get. So moving down the page a bit further, we've now got the 4 questions. So what is an SEO agency? How much does it cost? How much does SEO cost UK? What is the best SEO company? This is really interesting and really valuable, these kind of little blocks here. This is a little insight into what Google thinks people are going to be finding useful, or what they're going on to search further in their journey. And already we see that cost here is a really important factor for people who are looking for SEO agencies. So as an SEO person myself, I know that if I'm talking to clients, to bear in mind that cost might be a kind of a hidden consideration there that they're not explicitly telling me, but we can see that it's clearly going to be a concern in their results here. So then we've got more organic search results. And then moving down the page again, we've got more Google Ads at the bottom. So while that doesn't tell us much about SEO, what it does tell us is that the fact that we've got three Google Ads at the bottom as well as 4 at the top, so that's the full range of ads that can be displayed. So we've got 7 to 8 different ad slots that are full. That suggests to me immediately that is a really competitive term. So if you're searching for terms that your business might be trying to rank for, or just might be the kind of sector you're in, this is a really good way to have to kind of get the first insight into how competitive it might be. So I'm not sure the exact figure, but I know that SEO agency is a very competitive term, or very expensive term. It's going to cost me kind of £10 per click to get someone to my site for those terms. At the bottom again, right down at the bottom of the page, so this is beneath all of the organic search results, and then beneath the Google Ads as well, we've got 8 different suggested related searches to kind of go on further down our journey. We've got SEO agency Brighton, SEO agency Sheffield, Manchester, and Cardiff. So those are 4 out of the 8 that we know that people are using location modifiers. They are searching for locations as well as where they're looking, so they probably want like a local company. They don't want to just have anywhere in the UK. Then we've got the word best appearing as well, so best SEO agency, SEO services UK prices, again the price coming in as a concern there, and then digital marketing agency as a kind of more broad term that people might be searching for. So again, if you're searching for your product or your services, always look at this bottom field here where it's got searches related to, purely because it will give you a little bit of an insight into the concerns or the ways that people are starting to search, that your customers are starting to search. Let's look at a completely different term now. Now we've got men's watch on mobile. These are quite different search results. So at the top here, we've got the suggested refined keywords: Hugo Boss, Fossil, Michael Kors, and Tommy Hilfiger. So this is purely within Google Shopping ads that is suggesting that we refine our search within Google Shopping to take into account those brands. Google Shopping ads appearing at the top, which we didn't see before because we weren't a product. Then we've got only two Google search ads here compared to 4 last time. And then the first organic search result is actually quite high up. So there's only 3 or 4 elements that are appearing above the first organic search result on this term compared to the 7 on SEO agency. Let's keep moving down. So now we've got the Google Maps, so the map pack again is appearing, and it normally does on mobile, because with a mobile it's more explicitly got your location information, so it's more likely to be able to say, we know you're in Brighton, or we know you're in a shopping centre. If you're searching for a map, if you're in a shopping centre searching for a watch term, you're probably going to want to use Google Maps to then find the local shop that's most relevant to you and near you at that point in time. If we keep moving down again, we've got more organic search results. We're seeing these images being pulled in from the collection pages as well, which is interesting because this is kind of a bit more attention grabbing than it would be on desktop. So for example, slot 8 here doesn't have any images on it, but slot 7 does, takes up far more real estate on the screen. And if we keep moving down again, we see again the organic, this time rather than Google Shopping, but the organic suggestions to refine by brand: Hugo Boss, Rolex, tag here. And then, interestingly, beneath that, we've got research men's watch. So these are suggested content, suggested articles or other content for us to go through and then explore further. So we've got best men's watches from GQ and how to buy a men's watch online by Esquire magazine. Really interesting there, because that again gives us a hint of content we might want to try and either appear in if we are selling watches, or write about. Other keywords that people use at the bottom. So again, this block here appears on mobile, really useful. We've got men's watches on sale, men's watches UK, men's watches Argus, men's watches Armani. So a lot of brand names there, or retailer names. So Argus is a UK kind of shopping centre for any international viewers. Kind of it's not a department store, but it's it's just a retailer. So people are refining; they only want to shop from that one company. And then we've got Armani, and what's the other one? Another brand popping in there. But then also we've got cheap men's watches UK, luxury men's watches brands, men's watches leather strap. So people are clearly refining their searches further down the path compared to this one term. So if we go even more specific on that, so cheap men's watches that look expensive. Again, on mobile, this is a really interesting set of search results because it looks completely different to anything we've seen before. Google Shopping ads at the top, but based on collection this time rather than individual products. So these are groups of products that the retailers have put together to advertise. Only one Google search ad for TK Maxx, again another retailer in the UK. And then beneath that we've got this huge kind of piece of real estate being taken up, huge amount of screen space for the Google answer box, where the actual article title exactly matches the search intent for the keywords we put in. So we search for the cheapest men's watches that look expensive, and they've named it 10 affordable watches that look much more expensive than they are. So this is from Esquire magazine. They've clearly done their research, and they clearly know that customers are looking for this exact article, this exact content in their searches, and they've written content to exactly match that. Let's keep going down. We've now got commonly asked questions and common problems that people are having. So what are the best affordable men's watches? What is the best cheap watch brand? What is a good and expensive watch? What are good watches for guys? Again, that price really coming in, which would make sense because we explicitly search for a kind of price related term. Interestingly, we've got this huge kind of 4 YouTube videos appearing now as well. But if you look at the titles here, affordable watches that look expensive, affordable watches that look expensive part 2, so these are both the same channel, 3 affordable watches, alternatives to expensive watches, and low cost options to expensive watches. Again, so these content producers, these YouTube channels, however we want to call them, they've clearly know that people are looking for this content as well and have really tightly matched that to the search intent. The first organic result, we've only just got to that, so we've got the 4 YouTube videos, we've got the questions, we've got the Google answer box, the Google ads, the Google shopping ads before we even get to the first search result. So there's a lot there that we might click on before we even consider being the first, clicking on the first organic search result. If we continue down the page, we again see a lot more organic search results. They're uninterrupted here. There's nothing stopping us looking at all of these results. There's nothing kind of getting in the way until the second half of this page, where we've got the image pack. Interestingly, I would have thought that the images would have come up far higher in this search, but they've actually been relegated to quite far down the page. And then beneath that, we've got even more search ads. So these are ads that probably aren't paying quite as much to be at the top of search, but we've got Argus, unsurprisingly, and then Debenhams as well. So what I wanted to do with that explanation is really just challenge that idea of why we want to be first, and that the idea of being first is actually quite an old-fashioned way of looking at search and SEO, purely because there are so many different ways that you can, so many different results you can get in the search results page now, that it's not just organic and Google ads. There's the image pack, there's the videos, there's the images, there's the local searches, there's the questions, suggested other branded content, suggested other blogs and kind of content to look for as well. So here you can see these are different terms. We've not looked at all of them today, but different search terms, and the kind of squares here are where the first result on mobile appears on all of them. And you can see that it varies quite a lot in terms of visibility. Just because you're first doesn't mean you are the first result that someone is going to look at or going to click on. So let's look at now keyword research. Why you need to do it, and why essentially people don't necessarily care about your business, and why you need to make sure that you're writing about it in the right way to get customers to your site. There are 3 kind of key things that a keyword tells us as we do this keyword research process. One is the demand for the product or the service. Keyword difficulty then tells us if that's being met. So by the demand it means the search volume, which we'll come on to in a minute, and then the keyword difficulty is another metric that we look at, and that will tell us if that demand is being met or not. If it's low competition, it's probably not. If it's high competition, there's going to be lots of people writing about it already. An example being the expensive watches that look expensive. That there's so much content out there already, there's no point in us going into that because that demand's being met. How people search, so what words are people actually using? Quite often I find that either small business owners or kind of anyone will have misconceptions about what people search for in reality. The words that people use are going to be based on their historic profiles, and just because you've got the domain knowledge and you've been in the industry for 10 to 15 years, that's going to skew how you search for your product versus how a brand new customer who doesn't know what they're looking for is going to search for it. And then why people search. What is their problem or need, and what are they trying to solve or fix? Every search is kind of done with an aim in mind. It's not normally just exploration. People are trying to solve a problem in some way, and how do we know what that is, and how do we find out more about those people? So there are 2 things to consider with keyword research that I mentioned briefly just before. There's the average search volume, so how many people per month are searching for those search terms, and then most importantly, keyword difficulty. So what is practical to try and rank for. It's important to take that into consideration and understanding what other content out there that people have already written is. We don't want to go after really competitive key terms if we're quite a new business. It's just going to take too long for us to rank. We're better off focusing instead on the smaller terms that are less competitive, may have slightly lower search volumes, so there are less people searching for them, but we know that we can practically rank for them and get traffic to our site on that, even if it's not as much as we might like. Keyword difficulty also tells us about gaps in the market. So from a business point of view, ignoring SEO for a minute, from a business point of view, if we search for something and we can see that no one else is actually, that the search volume is really low, that search volume is really high, but the keyword competition is really low, we know there's an opportunity there to try and rank for that topic, but also that there's going to be there's a demand there that isn't being met. There is a niche there that people haven't realised yet. So if, say, there's 10,000 people searching a month for a certain service, but the keyword competition is actually extreme, like kind of low 20s or kind of low 10s even, based on the term, which I'll go into in a bit more later. But if there's low competition for that keyword that's got 10,000 searches a month, there's an opportunity there for us to enter into that market, produce either content or try and rank for those terms, and produce a product that answers that problem, and have a business kind of model built out of that. So keywords show intent. So intent is what they're trying to do, what is someone trying to achieve. A keyword itself is kind of a portion of that. So an example being, if I was looking for a restaurant locally, I might search for the best restaurant near me, or best restaurants 2020, best restaurants in Brighton, best restaurants in UK. Those are all different ways that I'm trying to achieve the exact same thing, but they're different keywords or key phrases to achieve that. And on that, even in 2019, 2020, 1 in 7 searches have never been searched before. That's a huge figure when you start thinking about it, in that there's every kind of 7th search is completely unique, that it has never been searched for before. So keyword research is a real good indicator, but it's never going to be the absolute entire picture, because it just can't be. So this is why it's really important to optimize for the intent and not for just keywords themselves. Keywords are a great indicator of what we want to write about, but we need to make sure that we're answering the intent as comprehensively as possible, rather than just using keywords in a stuffy way, or just using keywords and hoping that's enough. So yeah, keyword volume is an indication and cannot fully predict all of the data. Okay, so what is keyword search volume? Search volume is the average amount of searches per month that a phrase will get. So the important word there is average, because it doesn't take into account necessarily seasonal demand. So if we look at the word sunglasses, for example, and you can see at the bottom here with the graph, there's a huge amount of search demand in the summer, as we would expect to see around so May it peaks to kind of late spring, early summer, and then it starts to die down around in August. So we can see here, this is where the bulk of the demand is actually being searched for, with winter being far quieter. So in December, the average amount of searches per month for sunglasses is 27,000, and then May is 164,000. Obviously far bigger figure here, but then the average amount of searches over the year is then 74,000. So normally with these terms, I will focus on the average to start off with, unless I'm doing research for a particularly kind of seasonal client. So someone selling holidays, for example, or someone selling, sunglasses, obviously. You're going to want to realise that if you're seeing a drop-off in organic traffic at certain times of the year, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've dropped rank. It just means that the demand isn't there at that point in time. So, customers don't care how you describe your business, it's about how your customers do. This is the point I want to really hammer home, is in that the way that a business owner will say, oh no, actually people search for this to find us, you need to validate that. People probably don't actually search for that. You want to make sure that the keywords that you're targeting and that you're using in all your marketing materials, in terms of all of your kind of on your social, on your emails, on your website, as well as on your website, and in conversations with customers on the phone, that you're using keywords and language that they actually use, and that you validated through keyword research. The risk is if you don't, you're using keywords that are irrelevant and are outdated, or just simply aren't how your customers talk. And this is an example of that, to try and highlight the differences in assumption here, that you might think that wedding rings is going to have more searches per month than engagement rings, but in fact it's not, even though people might be searching for a very similar thing. Just to give some examples here as well, so gifts for men versus gifts for him, there's a 5-fold increase in searches. One of my clients was saying that electric bike is too long, and that e-bike is actually how people describe them, and this kind of proved that electric bike was a far more kind of known term, and we see almost a 6 times increase in searches for those. Zero waste shampoo versus plastic free shampoo. Again, very similar search intent here, so it's important to keep in mind that your search intent is going to be very similar, and that when you're writing articles, it doesn't matter too much about. It's not like there's less demand for plastic free shampoo than there is for zero waste shampoo, but when we're writing articles about it, we want to use the word plastic free because that's the term that people are searching for more, or that more people are aware of. And again, yoga teacher versus yoga classes, it's almost a 10 times increase here. And what that suggests to me is that people want a group experience, they want to have a class. They don't want a one-on-one experience where a yoga teacher, because it might be a bit more intense, and people actually want that more social side of yoga as well. So, the second thing we want to look at is keyword difficulty. Keyword difficulty is, in short, how hard it is to appear in the top 10. You will need to have an SEO tool to find it. You will need to have a subscription, or just subscribe for a month and do loads of research and then kind of cancel it. The best keyword research tools are paid. There were free ones before, like kind of last year, but everything's moved towards a paid model now, and I think it is just worth spending £40, £50, or £100, however much that tool costs, just to get it done for that 1 month. And each SEO tool will have slightly different ways it calculates the difficulty and kind of the varying metrics that go into it. But the main thing though is that keyword difficulty puts SEO into a practical context. So if we've got a keyword that is, say, 80 out of 100 in terms of difficulty versus a keyword that is 5 out of 100 in difficulty, we know that the 81 is going to be far harder than the 5 to rank for, and that those keywords are not equal. So in the tool that I use and that we're going to be using today as an example, anything over 30 essentially means that someone else has done a better job, and that they've already done it. So big brands already ranking quite often is like the BBC, GQ, Guardian, Amazon, John Lewis, Halfords. These are all companies that might appear for a search term that has a difficulty score of 30 or above. Lots of specific content already out there. So for example, as we saw with the cheap men's watches that look expensive term, that was all stuff that was all content that was specifically targeting that term already, and that we probably, if we wrote a new article about that, it's not going to really rank very well, because GQ had a listing on there, Esquire had a listing on there. There were 4 or 5 different YouTube video channels that had already listed on there, plus loads of different kind of retailers, so Argus and John Lewis and like HS Samuel all appeared there already. So yeah, it's that whole idea that they've already very specifically optimised for that intent and for those search terms. Anything under 30 in the tool that we're using normally means that other people haven't necessarily done their research. They're not quite as specifically targeting those search terms. They might be ranking just because they are the nearest thing that Google can find to answer that search intent. So the existing content might be a bit bad or a bit vague. The search intents aren't being met. There's less competition for that search query or problem. So it might be that they aren't as well ranked, or that they're quite small sites as well, and that they've not really optimised their page or site for that term enough. And there's an opportunity there for us to go in with content that is better than theirs, that is more valuable and answers the search query far better than theirs does to try and rank for it. So what we want to do now is take that search volume and that keyword difficulty and just combine them together to kind of get a practical list of how to use SEO. And we'll look at some examples now. Let's look at why keyword volume is everything, and why volume is so important. So going back to this plastic-free shampoo and the zero-waste shampoo comparison, we have a difficulty of 24 at the top versus 20 for zero-waste shampoo, but searches a month is 1,200 versus 180. So what we're seeing here is that we want to use the term plastic-free shampoo far more than we would do zero-waste shampoo. We still want to use the word zero-waste shampoo and kind of weave it in, because then it's still going to be picked up and it's lower difficulty. But we know that in terms of the product title, and in terms of the page title, in terms of the metadata, in terms of the headings on the site, plastic-free is what we want to use. And I would think that if someone searches for zero waste, Google's going to be able to tie up those two terms in the terms of the search intent and deliver our content to it. But because we're using plastic-free slightly more, we're going to get a higher amount of clicks onto our site. So then let's look at why difficulty is everything. Well, we should only focus on difficulty. So here are 2 different terms. Say we're a sweet shop and we're selling kind of a range of confectionery or kind of bespoke gifts of chocolate. we've got the gifts for him. Someone might be searching for that, and that's a perfectly valid term for us to look at in terms of wanting to capture someone who is looking for a gift for their partner or for their male friend. But looking at this, suddenly the difficulty is 62, which is extraordinarily high. That's really difficult to break through, and the brands that are ranking for that are like, I Want One of Those, Menkind, John Lewis, Debenhams, Not on the High Street, ASOS, Firebox. These are all really big brands in the UK that you're not going to compete against. They've got search domain authority, that they are going to be giving the best experience someone wants. There's no point for us trying to go for gifts for him as a search term. But then if you look at sweet gifts for him, now this can either mean that people are looking for physical sweets to consume and kind of confectionery, or people are looking for gifts that are kind of emotionally sweet. It's hard to understand that, and sometimes you do have to take a bit of a risk with this, but the difficulty is only 18, and it's 170 searches a month, which is still quite a lot of traffic to drive to our site. And the brands that are kind of ranking are Pinterest, Friars, Retro Sweets, and the Unique Gift Store. So aside from Pinterest, they're not particularly big brands, I don't think, and that there's an opportunity there that if we create content that is better than theirs and look at their pages and go, well, what are they writing about, and is it the best experience it could be? If it's not, we can, like, it probably isn't because it's only difficulty of 18, we can then look at their content and just beat it and make something better than that, and that's how we're going to rank for it. So then if we look at that results page in a bit more detail, so sweet gifts for him, we don't see any exact matches in the page titles here, so they're all optimizing, they're all like confectionery sites that are selling gifts for him, and they've only optimized for that gifts for him page. They're not saying sweet gifts for him, so we've got Cadbury's, Find Me a Gift, Prezi, Handy Candy. It's all a bit vague, there's no exact matches in these page titles, whereas gifts for him, these are all explicit. We've got Prezi Box, gifts for him, present and ideas for men. We've got gifts for him, unusual gift ideas for men from I Want One of Those. John Lewis, top gifts for him, the best gifts for him from Menkind. These are all like big brands, and they've got very exact match terms. So the next question really is do we need to be first? And that's why having the difficulty and the volume is everything, and kind of combining those two things together. So taking the earlier idea of looking at being number one and why that isn't necessarily practical, or that is an old-fashioned way of looking at search. Now we can start adding that into the search volume, into the search difficulty that we've been looking at, and combine the two. So let's look at two search terms. Grey wallpaper for hallway has a search volume of 320 searches a month, a difficulty of 30, and we can estimate that being positioned 1 will get us about 30% of the clicks, so that's going to be about 110 searches a month. So that would be great, and it might be from a vanity point of view that being number one for that term, we can really show off about that, and we can be really pleased with that. But if we look at the term grey wallpaper, which is a bit slightly broader term, the difficulty is only 6 more, so 36, but it gets a huge amount of search. 50,000 searches a month for grey wallpaper. If we were ranking position number 9 for that term, so even if we were far lower down the page, we're actually still going to get more traffic for that term because of the higher search volume. So we need to take both of these terms in context, that even at position number 9 on a term that is 50,000 a month and a slightly higher difficulty, we will get far higher searches, far higher traffic to our site. So this is why we don't want to worry about being first too much, and we want to make sure that the SEO we're doing is practical. We want to research, we want to go for keywords that we will realistically be able to rank for depending on our website size and kind of branding awareness, and the difficulty out there in the market. We want to look at the search engine results page and go for keywords that don't have a huge competition from Google Ads, map listings, video, etc. We don't want to look at terms that have got so much noise, so much other distractions on, that people are already creating content for, that we're not going to be able to break through that noise. We want to pick our battles and only go for terms that we know we can rank for. And we want to research keywords that are based on data and not vanity. So being number one for a term that only gets 300 searches a month versus a term that gets, being further down the page, but on a term that gets 50,000 searches a month, is going to actually probably drive far more conversions to our site and make us more money, because it's based on the data rather than just on what we think is going to be best. And that's why we do keyword research. It really helps us understand the potential, understand your customer, and understand your position. Sometimes coming ninth can still be really good. So how do you use this information in a practical context? Once you've done the keyword research, you'll know what people actually search for, how many people actually search for those terms, and kind of what phrases they use, and also the competition of those keywords. You can then start taking that information to your website and optimizing your site in terms of the page titles and the meta descriptions. So let's just look at my site, for example. Before I did any kind of SEO work to my own site or any optimizations, it might have been that I just had a page called services, and I just had a description of SEO services in Brighton, and I just kind of thrown it up there and not really thought about it. But going back to that page, looking at the keywords that people are searching for, and optimizing the page title and the meta description for them, after I've done that research, after I've done optimization work, we see that it looks much better. It's given me much more context, so that looking at these two in comparison, I immediately know that I'm a freelance SEO consultant in Brighton, and that these are all the different services I offer, such as site migration support, SEO strategy, keyword research, and technical audits for small businesses, rather than just someone who does SEO services, which could mean anything. This has given me a lot more context, both for a user to help with click-through rate, and also optimizing for those search keywords anyway. Google Search Console. Let's discuss that very quickly. This is the final point we're going to make, but Google Search Console tells you how people are finding your website in Google. It is different to Google Analytics. Google Analytics tells you how people find your website from everywhere, whether that's from a forum, whether that's from social media, whether that's from Google Ads, whether that's from a YouTube link, anywhere. So Google Analytics is really useful for that, but Google Search Console gives us far more detail on the keywords that we're appearing for and kind of our ranking and any errors, but just within Google Search Console itself. So it gives you all this data for free. It's a completely free tool, and it's kind of accurate and real. Here are some of the key terms that I've appeared for. So we know that in the past, like say 7 days, for example, SEO consultant Brighton, I've had 4 clicks for. SEO company in Brighton, again 4 clicks. Marketing consultant Brighton, I've had 1 click. We know how many times we're appearing as well, so like kind of the impressions and the actual clicks. It's just really handy, and it's completely free. I really recommend installing it. So, having watched this video, what are you going to go away and do? I'd recommend that you research keywords. What are people actually using to describe your product or service? What keywords are there? Validate them. Make a list of keywords that you use to describe yourself. Make a list of keywords you think customers use, and then go in on those search tools with those SEO keyword research tools and just validate that. See what people are actually searching for. Next, use Google as a customer. So take some of those keywords that you've come out with and just look at the search results page and see what it looks like. Analyze it a little bit. Does it have images? Does it have video? Does it have Google My Business, for example? Is that somewhere where you should actually focus a lot of your effort? How competitive is it? Are there big brands in the search results? Is there a lot of video there? Is there a lot of ads and it's not worth going for? Or are there no ads? Is there nothing of this and it's actually quite a kind of a clean profile for you to try and optimize for? And then take all the keywords that you found and use them naturally on your website and in page titles. So optimize your meta titles and your meta descriptions, optimize your headings on the site, and just generally use those keywords naturally throughout the site that will make it more rich and more informative for a user. And then finally, make sure you've got Google Search Console installed so that you can monitor all of these improvements that you've made and monitor how you're appearing in search. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you've got any questions, please do get in touch, either on adam@abastock.co.uk, and I'll put a link up as well so you can email me with any questions. But yes, thing to take away, please do your keyword research. Thank you very much.